everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like it on Spotify, Apple, everywhere.
And make your friends do it. Just break into their phones. Just subscribe. Download the episodes. Listen when they're not looking. Just doctor our listens as much as you can.
That's a good idea. Another good idea is to make sure you read the scoring criteria.
You could.
Yeah. Because we talk judging in MMA.
Once in a while. When our voices work.
Yeah, Scott's voice works.
It does. It's back.
He's back.
Which is great because last week I got some feedback from a listener who listened to our show. Long time listener to the show. And, they said I sounded like death. And you know what? I did. I did sound like death. Yeah.
That's good.
That was accurate. That was an accurate assessment. So good job on that. But I'm back. My voice is here. I would say I'm going to put it at like 98% back. I was talking about this with my wife. I think my voice is like 98% back.
98. That's pretty specific.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels almost there.
Okay.
But just like once in a while, I still, I don't want to get into the yuckiness of it. But, I'm getting over a cold.
Gotcha.
It took a while to get over the remnants of it, I guess is what really happened. So, I lost my voice even when I didn't feel bad anymore. It was just like, well, that stunk because I can't talk to anybody. But we still managed to do a show. And you know what? I thought it was the greatest show of all time.
I think it was
not just of our podcast, but ever.
I would think so.
Yeah. Probably beats all the best episodes of Breaking Bad and all sorts of stuff like that.
That's a high bar.
Nah, but we crossed it.
Okay.
Yeah. How's it going, man? I know obviously we have to address the fact that we're doing a Tuesday episode.
Yeah.
It's not because of my voice. It's because Dan all of a sudden is like, oh yeah, I'm going to the Bills-Giants game in Buffalo. I was like, oh, I guess we're not doing a show on Monday.
Yeah, that was fun, Buffalo. I mean, I don't know what kind of town it is. Like, they don't have great food.
I've heard that they have wings.
It's a drinking town. They have wings. We were excited for the wings, but the Buffalo wing has a ceiling. There's only so much you can do to it. It doesn't, I mean...
well, it's just chicken at the end of the day, yeah.
They were good, but I mean, I wouldn't drive 6 hours just to eat them.
But you didn't.
No, I was going for the Giant game, and they happened to be a side quest of sorts.
All right.
Stopped at 3 places. I'm probably not eating buffalo wings for the rest of the year.
Okay.
I'm winged out. The Bills Mafia is a fraud. The refs are horrible. Giants time clock management is terrible.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
I wanted to see someone go through a table. I was in that parking lot all day long. Nobody went through a table. They're a fraud. They ham it up for the cameras.
I've seen people go through tables at MetLife.
So it's Bills Mafia, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and they're ruining the song Shout for me, which was one of my favorite songs. They're
really?
Ruining it for me.
Shout? Like...
Yeah, because their stadium chant is, hey,
yeah,
let's go Buffalo. And it's like, it's just nonstop in your ear the whole time. And it's like, pick a new song, people. And Ralph Wilson Stadium needs to be knocked down immediately. There's actual bleachers in this stadium.
They are building a new stadium.
They are.
They actually have the funding. It's
caused,
like coming.
No, it's under construction, right? Yeah. Everything's broken down. It's
yeah,
total chaos there.
So it's kind of like when they were building MetLife here and everything was a mess too.
Yeah, but listen, Giant Stadium did not need to be rebuilt.
No, it didn't.
We did not need a new stadium. We had actual seats. We didn't have bleachers. It's way low on the list of stadiums I've been to. Like high school. I'm sure there's high school stadiums in Texas that are better than this.
Realistically, you're never going again.
I'm never going
to that particular venue.
No, but in 3 weeks, I'll be in Vegas for the Giants when they play the Raiders. And that's a brand new stadium, so I'm expecting a lot of things from that one.
Okay.
Expecting a lot. And of course, they're not at the Apex that weekend.
No, they're not.
They're in Brazil.
Yep.
They just try to run from me every time.
I don't know. Sometimes you go and you're like, nah, I'm not going to go.
No, I'm never there when there's an Apex event.
Is that right? I thought you were there one time.
I've not been there
I
for an Apex.
could swear you were there once.
No. I have not been there for an Apex event.
Maybe it's you.
Oh, no, I've been there
for... who's avoiding it.
I was there for one Apex event, but I was in a World Series of Poker tournament.
Yeah, that's what I said. I knew you were there.
I can't help
you were
my
busy,
schedule.
I get it, but yeah.
Conflicted.
I'm just saying, you were there.
So,
that's truth.
Yeah, all right.
But anyway, you know what? No one honestly gives a crap about Buffalo or the Giants who listen to the show. I actually surveyed every listener. None of them care.
Shout out to this guy named Cubby.
Swanson?
I don't know. Cubby was getting yelled at by some guy at the bar from the bartender.
Oh.
Or every single bartender. Cubby, stop giving your money away.
All right.
So he must have been a regular there.
Yeah, but not a regular listener. So that's him. We don't care.
He might. I wore my couchside judges attire to the game.
How many people came up to you and were like, "Yo, couchside judges"?
More people came up to me and said, "Hey, what's up, Coach Dable?"
Did you really?
Yeah,
that's funny.
It is. I mean,
and now that you've said it, especially when you have the headphones on, I can kind of see it.
I should have just started screaming at them and told them that
and then mismanaging the clock.
Don't check out of a pass play there.
Yeah,
we have no timeouts.
But anyway, let's get it back to fighting here, sir.
All right, fine.
I don't want to talk football anymore. My team's 0-6 anyway.
I was so excited for them. The first quarter.
Yeah, well.
I was like, Survivor Pool is going to be awesome. And it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Football's done. We're done with football.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. If you want to talk about Raptors, that's fine. We'll talk basketball. But we're talking about fighting.
Yeah, we got fighting.
We got a little bit of fighting. Quieter weekend than we've had lately. Not a double weekend. Just a nice little cozy UFC Apex event. Edson Barboza getting the win over Sodiq Yusuff. Really fun fight. Off the bat, it was pretty hectic. Obviously, Barboza was in a real rough way and then just surges back and pretty much just takes over the fight from, I would say, probably like 3 or 4 minutes into that round. Like after that point, like you just didn't see much from Sodiq Yusuff.
Yeah. Anymore. Was this the round the 10-7 question?
Round one is the
is it one the question?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to elaborate for those who may either didn't remember or missed it, Michael Bisping, looking back in round 4, this is when this conversation is happening. But looking back at round 1, Michael Bisping is kind of putting it out there that I definitely it's a 10. Because they were asking, if maybe it's a 10-8 in the first round. He's like, oh, definitely. The criteria language actually could support being a 10-7. And I'm like, no effing way. So I put a tweet out there basically just saying no, that definitely doesn't, 100%. I forget the exact language. It's out there. My words are there. I think most people agreed except for some dude named Arthur Bateson, who I can't tell if is a parody account or even an actual human because his picture looks like it was generated by AI. And his description is that he was the editor of the Daily Planet from 2005 to 2013. So it leads me to believe we're talking about a parody account here, one with significantly more following than I have, but I don't know how people get followings on Twitter. So, because I certainly don't have enough of it, but he took a lot of issue with the fact that the language didn't support it, screen capping all the different language and things like that. And I sent him more, and then he did more screen capping, and he'd answer me 4 or 5 times before I can answer back. I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to have a Fox News debate where you just shouting at me a bunch of times. Like, say something once, I'll answer you back, man. I got no time. I'm doing work here. But anyway, to sum it up, I'm trying to help him understand that, look, the language absolutely 100% could be more clear. We've never hidden from that on our show, right?
No, language. We just did a whole show on
literally did a whole episode on what the language needs.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a case in point of why, hey, maybe it'd be a little better to update it a little bit. But trying to help illustrate for this person that, listen, yes, there's dominance here. Yes, there's damage. There's probably duration too of the damage being done in the first round. It depends though, because, and we'll kind of get into this deeper when we actually get to the round itself. But there is not, like, overwhelming doesn't mean it reaches such a high level for dominance. Like, we're talking about it being over. Like, what is dominance compared to overwhelming dominance, right?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to help define for this person. And really just. It's hard to have conversations on social media with people.
The thing is, he made the same mistake I made like 3 years ago when we had Rob Hines on as our first guest. When I said, you don't need to read any further beyond. It says if the fight can be considered, stopped, it's a 10. It can be considered a 10-7.
Right.
And I said, I don't got to read any further beyond that because that's what the criteria says.
Sure. He
explained to me, yes, you got to look at the whole thing.
Yes, you're supposed to read the other 3 paragraphs.
You need to have everything. So I was like, all right, well, the guy was making the same mistake I made. And it's written in there as a quote, which is weird on the criteria. document.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of issues.
Interesting.
I mean, I keep thinking of things that we didn't even cover from that episode.
Oh,
It's
there's
just like there's a billion, and especially it's like a lot of it's like minutia and stuff. And if you and I and Shawnee talked about like the little itty bitty bits of commas and placement of words and that kind of thing, if we got into that, I mean, that would not be a very interesting show, and it would go on forever. But I think we covered a lot of the big stuff. But there really are just a lot of little things that, if added, all addressed and added up, I think would make the document much more clear for people to read and understand, and I think that would bridge a lot of the knowledge gap, because we are seeing more people actually go to the criteria as a source. It really has changed a little bit, I think. Certainly not everybody, certainly nowhere near a majority, but I think there is more interest in going to the criteria because so many people say the criteria, so it's like out there, in a way that I don't think ever really was. And, are we part of that? I'm sure, Sean's show most definitely is. And I think just the general judging outcry that we tend to have, even overreactionary most of the time, but it still actually, I think, leads to us having more voices talking about it in a positive way and little by little chipping away.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing I want to say. I know Sean said I'd much rather it be even shorter than 3.5 pages.
It could be shorter.
And I was going to come back.
Right. I
didn't want to get too much into it, but I was thinking I'd be totally okay if we go the other way and it becomes a 15-page document.
I actually would be okay with that too. Like, I think there's room for it. The NFL rule book is like it's labyrinthine. It doesn't need to be nearly that long, but yeah, I think there's room to go into more detail. And, I mean, shoot, if they're not reading 3 pages, they're not going to read 12 either. So it's like, what's the point? Unless you get it down to like, 5 bullet points like they used to give the president, like that's not going to happen. We need more details, I think. So.
But Edson Barboza.
Edson Barboza. We'll table the judging talk for a moment. But him himself, I mean, he looked really good after the point where he looked really bad. But he really put it together. It was such a veteran performance from him. Part of it was Yusuff really did just fade. He really faded. He was still competitive at times, but not winning almost any of the final 21 minutes or so of the fight, which is pretty remarkable because he was in such a bad way, Barboza. But I guess the question I have for you is, what do you do with Barboza next? And I think they'll have their ideas, the UFC, but my question more is about what's the most fun fight that we can give him next in the top 12 at 145. Someone who hasn't faced yet.
Yeah.
Somebody who'd be fun, create a fun fight that you want to sit there and say, yo, that'll be fun.
Calvin Kattar.
That was my thought too. Yeah. That was my thought too. Other than, who I'd proposed a while back, him and Max Holloway, which I know they're far apart in the rankings. I still think it'd be a fun fight. I would like to see that. It would have been fun to see him and Chan Sung Jung, actually. That would have been a good last fight for Chan Sung Jung.
Yeah, that would have been.
I don't want him. No, don't wheel him out. Leave him retired. I'm just saying that would have been, I think, a better fight at the end for everybody if that was the fight. But whatever, we got what we got. I do like Calvin Kattar though. I'm glad you said that because I perfectly identified him too. I think that'd be a good comeback fight for Kattar coming off the injury, and I think it'd be a good next step up for Barboza.
I think that's kind of really the best way to go. I mean, you can't throw him against Giga again. So
no, there would be no point. I mean, there's so many other matchups you'd rather have Giga Chikadze in anyway. It's not necessary.
It's kind of not fair to Giga to do that.
No, it's not. It's not fair to Giga. He already did what he did. I mean, there's nothing. He really doesn't gain anything from it. So I'm not interested in a rematch. I want something new. I want something new from him. You can do something new with him. And I think Calvin Kattar would be a fun one. I'd be interested to see how that fight would go. I like that. Yeah. The other guy who I wanted to talk about here was Michel Pereira.
Yeah.
Coming up to middleweight, always probably his natural weight class that he just said, you know what, I'm going to do the Anthony Johnson thing and just cut, organs out of my body temporarily while I weigh in or whatever he did. Now he's at middleweight. I'm much happier seeing that here. Looked really good against Andre Petrosky. You like Petrosky too. So
I do.
That was a good performance.
Yeah. Was this a short notice fight?
I think they put it together a little short notice. I'm not sure.
Because the ADCC trials was on the East Coast this past weekend, and I saw on the competitor list Andre Petrosky.
Did he actually compete or?
No, I couldn't find him in any of the brackets.
Weekend or the previous week?
This act the same weekend as the fights.
Oh, I see.
He was on the competitor list as of Friday when I looked at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how quickly this came together. I know it was like officialized late in the game, so
okay.
But you never know when these guys are getting the fight, you know?
Right, it's true.
So, but either way, I mean, it's still a really good performance, and again, he's at a weight class that he, in theory, should perform better at anyway. What's his ceiling for you? What do you see out of him? I
don't really know. Top 10, maybe. Middleweight's weird.
Middleweight is weird. You're right. I could actually see him getting into the top 5. And maybe, I don't know if he'd become a staple there, but I really could. I think there's pathways there just because there's a lot of stale members of the top 15. A lot of guys who kind of seem like they're on the way down as opposed to the way up. And I think that offers some opportunity for somebody like him.
Yeah. Izzy's on semi-retirement.
Yeah, I don't know when we're going to see him again. So. Who knows? I mean, you know what? More power to him. I think that's a good decision.
I think, yeah.
And Derek Brunson actually just left and signed with PFL too. So there's 2 guys who were in the top 10 of the middleweight division. They are no longer a part of the UFC's active roster, I guess we could say.
Yeah, I think he could do pretty well in middleweight. So we'll see.
Yeah, it depends how they match him up, but I imagine somebody like him, if he can be active enough, like, and in theory he can take fights more frequently now, because who knows, maybe he can take sort of late notice assignments like this. You know,
listen, just tell them you're available whenever Kelvin is scheduled to fight.
Yeah. Honestly, Michel Pereira and Kelvin Gastelum sounds like a fun fight.
It won't never happen.
Although Gastelum, I thought was moving down to 170. Is that not
that's
true?
what he's going? I don't know.
Am I mistaken there?
I have no idea.
I could have swore, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe he's going to fight. Maybe he's not. We don't know. Which is a shame. He was one of my favorite guys coming off the Ultimate Fighter. So
would we agree, though, probably Michel Pereira has somewhere around the top 5 even potential?
Yeah. Especially in the way the landscape of
the middleweight division. It's a perfect marriage of the weight class and I think the personality and the talent and the style. I think that's why, if they book it correctly, he could probably end up there pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it'd be like in 6 months, but I could see him rocketing up there within a year-ish.
Are we expecting Usman and Hamzat to stay at 185?
I have no idea. I don't know how many more fights Kamaru Usman's going to take.
Yeah.
Realistically, he's never sounded like he wanted to do this forever. And you know, I think he probably sees an opportunity to try and go up and go get another belt.
He beats Hamza. He beats
Hamza.
Path to the title.
Yeah, absolutely. So, they're already calling it a number one contenders fight, and I think they'll stick with that. Especially, there's no Adesanya here. There's nothing standing in the way, right. And you know, I think we've talked about already. They're not really happy with Dricus du Plessis. They're not really looking to just make room for him to get in there either. Which obviously that's a political move, which is stupid, but nonetheless.
And they're protecting everybody from my guy Bo Nickel, pretty much.
Yes, of course.
Is what's happening.
There is that too. Yes.
They don't even want to give him a number yet.
No,
because they're scared.
They'll
ruin all their plans.
It's based on fear.
So
sure. That was kind of all I had as far as opening topics off of the fights, I guess. But we do have the unanimity report for UFC Vegas 81, 26 rounds, a lot of decisions here. Not too many fights, but a lot of decisions. 20 out of 26 rounds were unanimous for 76.9% unanimity rating. That's solid. It's a solid weekend for the judges there. Only one of the rounds was a 9-8 split, so they agreed on the winner. Well, 21 out of 25 times, or 21 out of 26 times. Not bad.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good week for them. That does leave us 6 rounds for contested rounds. And I think it's probably about time we circle back to Barboza and Yusuff like we were talking about before. The final scores of that, because Barboza did end up winning the final 4 rounds of that fight. It was 48-46 2 times and a 49-46 from one of the judges. So we're really just talking about the degree of round 1 for Sodiq Yusuff. Let's talk about this round, man.
Yeah, Yusuff is bombing on Barboza early. Has him wobbled a couple times. Barboza's eye is busted up pretty good. Barboza, he goes down briefly, but he's kind of standing. He's wobbled. You can tell he's hurt.
But he's definitely not like just running away. He's definitely trying to get right, but he's also still kind of in it.
He's covering up. He's still fighting, throwing back. I don't think he's in danger of it being stopped.
They said that a lot, and I didn't necessarily see that. He was in trouble, but yeah, I didn't see him like on the verge of a stoppage.
I think if it was stopped, people would have lost their minds.
I think so too. Well, Dominic Cruz especially, who made sure to point out, that's good refereeing. Let him fight through it. Every chance he gets. Oh my God.
Then it hits the ground, and pretty much they stay there. They're not really doing that much. There's some good ground and pound coming from Yusuff's side. Barboza's hunting a leg lock. There's really nothing there. It's kind of just, keeping Yusuff at bay a bit.
I mean, it's useful in that sense, but yes, it's not actually like effectively getting towards ending the fight.
I think it's a 10-8. I don't like a 9. I would hate a 7. I think an 8 is the perfect score for a round like this.
See, for me, yes, on all three fronts, I agree with you. This is an 8. I don't like a 9. I hate a 7. And the reason I hate the 7, and I don't want to dwell on this too much, but the reason I hate the 7 is because really for the final 3 minutes of this round, yes, Yusuff is probably still winning it because he's landing. It's good, but very intermittent lands of the ground and pound.
Yeah, it's like the Bills' offense the first 3 quarters.
Yes. But it's not like it's just not a continuation of the offense in the same respect. It really tails off significantly. I think he probably tires here, and I think we saw signs of that later, and you can't judge in hindsight. But there's definitely a distinct difference between the first 2 minutes and the final 3 minutes, and I have to think that maybe that is why Judge Chris Lee only gave a 9 for Yusuff, which I still don't like. Especially this is the same judge who gave a 10-7 this year. Yeah. Who for the round, which he also didn't agree with, right? The inconsistency is very strange. But I don't love it, but I can see where it was coming from because you'll talk to judges, and we've talked to judges in the past who they'll see a round where someone is having like a big moment there, but then they very much tail off and it's not continued offense to the same degree. And it really was for a significant period of time. It's the final 3 minutes of the round. I could see how. Not that the judge forgot. That people like to say that word, like, oh, they forgot that what happened the first 2 minutes. They didn't forget the first 2 minutes. I'm sure. I'm going to give Chris Lee the benefit of the doubt here, but I think there's kind of well, we're not really using this time very well kind of thing, and I could see why maybe it trails off, or maybe he doesn't even think Barboza is so nastily hurt because of the fact that he's fighting through it. Maybe there's something he's seeing like that. Again, I still strongly disagree, but I can see where the thought process could have been if that was the thought. I can't speak for Chris Lee, but I can project what a judge might say in that scenario. So that's kind of where I'm at. But as far as the 7, I mean, you kind of need those other 3 minutes to be active. It needs to be a round long version of kind of what we saw, where at least he's trying to deal offense like consistently. It's not like he can't stop throwing a punch for 2 seconds, but
you lost the overwhelming.
The overwhelming is totally gone of both duration and dominance, I think. But I think overwhelming damage, I think it's pretty close to it right there. It's not. I don't even know if I quite hit overwhelming there. It's really close. It's good damage. Yeah. I'd love for scoring to make this be a 7. I would love to stretch the definitions like we said, but it's just not there. It's not what it is. It's an 8. This is why we have 8. This is an 8.
8.
I did want to ask you, and this is not a contested round, but round 3, when you watched round 3, did 8 come through your head?
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
What also came through my mind was, wow, Edson's really talking himself out of an 8 here. By the tactics after he has him hurt.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
It was like absolutely terrible fight IQ in those moments thereafter.
Like he almost talked himself out. He could have got a finish there.
Yeah. He should have just pounded. But when I watched that, I actually did give it an 8.
Okay.
I saw an 8 here, and the reason being, I thought he actually had Yusuff in more trouble than Barboza ever was. Oh, I think no one was more hurt in that fight, as much as we saw Barboza get so badly hurt in the first round. No one was more hurt than during that 45 to 15 seconds left in round 3 for Sodiq Yusuff. He was in such a terrible way. He's basically just hoping he doesn't get choked at this point. I mean, he's defending to some degree too, right? But he can't do anything. He's shut down.
He's hurt, but you kind of on Barboza, he doesn't allow you to see that.
Yeah,
because he just smothers him. He tries to lock in a Darce that's not there, and then even the ground and pound he was hitting him with was not really all that great.
No. There was some that were okay, and I thought so.
He got some through, but I mean, he could if he just kept going right instead of attacking a Darce there, just keep punching. The guy doesn't know where he is. Like
he was like the Giants managing the clock.
Exactly.
Yeah, bring it all full circle. Might as well work in every team.
You should.
Yeah.
He checked to a run on a pass.
Yeah. But yeah, I still see that one as an 8. I could totally get why it's not. That's a much closer to a 9 than an 8 than anything. So the fact that all the judges went 9 here, I mean, if Chris Lee's not going to go 9 in the first round, he's not going to go 9 in the third round either. But the other thing too about round 3 is that I thought that Barboza did more with the other 4 plus minutes of the round than with what Yusuff did in those other minutes of round 1. I thought he had a nice round. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think we have a good round for Barboza. Maybe not like a giant round, but like a good solid round for him that turns into, oh, wow, he's really got something here. And that's why I can, in my head, I jumped to 8.
All right. Fair.
Yeah, I think so. Figured it's worth talking about. That was not a conversation anybody else was having really but me. I'm cool with it.
All right.
And that was it really for that round. I don't know how many more rounds you feel very super strongly about, but you know, we've obviously got 5 more rounds that we'll get to right now, right?
Yeah.
Starting with 2 in the curtain jerker between Emily. What was that? What was it that Dominic Cruz was calling her? Ducote?
Is that what he was saying?
Oh, no. He I said this. I tweeted this out that he is the #1 pound for pound worst at name pronunciation on the UFC broadcast team, because he most definitely, like, if there's a name, he'll find a way to butcher it. I mean, he knows what he's talking about with most stuff except for judging, but like names, oh my god, someone's got to just write it out for him.
He doesn't listen to that database that they have.
No. So. I'm sure Anik's like, come on, Dom. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe not, but anyway.
Which I guess John hasn't gotten my message to work more. I guess.
Oh, you want him on the more calls.
Yeah. Less Brendan, more John.
I think he wants probably less work for more money. Hey, that's what we all want.
Don't we all?
Yeah, exactly. Look, I get it. But Emily Ducati, I believe. Ducati. Now he's messing me up. I don't even know.
Well, Ducati's a motorcycle, I think.
Ducati, yeah.
I think it's Ducati. Emily Ducati.
Just Emily. She goes by Emily now.
That's it.
Gordina.
I
believe that means donut or something.
I had great donuts this morning.
Yeah? That's great.
Really good.
Glad to hear it. We're not going to talk about that. We're talking about this fight. Okay. Ashley Yoder was the loser on this fight. It was 29-28 twice and a 30-27. Unanimous decision for Emily, just Emily. But we're talking about rounds 1 and 2 because each of those rounds had Yoder as the... By the way, I don't even think I addressed real quick. It was Chris Lee who was in the previous round we talked about was the out judge. Judges Derek Cleary and Sal D'Amato were the ones who saw the 8, just like you and I did.
Yeah.
I should put that out there. But back to this fight, yes, we do have 2 rounds where one judge saw it for Yoder. She was never the majority scorer. So let's talk about round 1 first.
Yeah, this was a super close round. I think early on, they're both missing quite a bit. You know, a lot of volume, not many connects. When they do connect early in the round, Dona is landing harder. And really all Yoder has is a head kick and a left-hand combo that, you know, Dominic Cruz is pointing out well because that's his lane and he does it very well.
Oh, yeah, he's good in that lane.
And she does have some success with the left hand after she throws out that head kick. But I do think Ducati landed good to the body and to the legs, but her most effective attacks were upstairs to the head. I was leaning Ducati until Yoder lands a head kick. The best shot around, kind of like buckled the legs slightly. That second half of the round, Yoder really started landing her left much more often. I thought they were pretty hard. Very, very close round, but I think it's Yoder 10-9.
Yeah, I liked what Yoder was doing toward the end of the round, too. I think she took what was a very, very close round and made it just a little bit easier for me. Not that it was... I still see both ways. I could totally understand why I would go the other way, but I did side with Yoder, and I feel good about my score. Mm-hmm. But it's very close round. Very, very, very close round. So I saw it the same way as you. We saw it with Sal D'Amato, who's the out judge, where Judges Cleary and Eric Colon saw this one for just Emily. What does that mean for Judge D'Amato?
Couchside override.
Boy, it's a really good thing we didn't have one last week, because I would not have been that. That would have been, oh my god, if I sounded like death just talking, imagine me trying to do or something like that. I'd probably sound like Chewbacca, going into his death throes. But yeah, so there's an override. Good job by Judge D'Amato. The other two judges, they messed up. They're terrible. No, just kidding. Round 2.
Yeah, this was another very close round. Early on, it looked like Ducote was going to win it pretty easily or pretty clearly. I thought she was landing to the body, not to the Betty.
What is the Betty?
I don't know what the Betty is. Anyway, to the body, with more impact, to the head with more impact than she did in the previous round. While Yoder seemed to be missing, landing with less impact when she actually did land. But that final minute and a half, Yoder starts to land some big left hands. Solid knee up the middle. She really closed the gap. Very, very close. I just don't think she surpassed it. I think it's still a 10-9 Ducote round.
Yeah, a round like that, like you kind of just saying to yourself, hey, did she pass it or not? You know, and for some judges, and in this case, it's Judge Colon who saw it for Yoder. Yes, she passed it, and I think that's fine. I think it's always tough to say, well, at what point did we get past it here? It's a very inexact science. So, you know, I did side with you and the majority for Just Emily, and yeah, not a problem for Judge Colon to go that way. So we saw it with Judges Cleary and D'Amato, as well. Really, what it was is Ducote ultimately did well enough in each round, and then by the end, Yoder was kind of a mess. Her face had a bunch of cuts in places that made it look like she had different eyebrows and things. It wasn't a good look. But you know what? It's fight. These things happen. That's it for that fight. Moving on a little later in the card, I think this was still on the prelims for whatever reason. I don't know why they structure their fights the way they do. I hate like wringing my hands over like card placement anymore, because at this point it almost seems like they don't care, but like sometimes you just want explanations. Like, what is it? What is the thinking behind it? Like, just tell me. Why would you put Darren Elkins, who's literally known as the Damage, and we all just expect him to just be in these wild, crazy fights? Why not just put him later in the card? Granted, this wasn't a barn burner, but he did get the finish over TJ Brown. Round 3, rear naked choke submission. It was mostly his fight, except for round 2 is a split round. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, Darren Elkins. This was a crazy round, very grappling heavy.
Not like a ton to score, not a ton of scoreable offense. I felt like
I kind of disagree a little bit.
Okay,
but on the feet, Brown landed a good knee to the head and a good leg kick.
More than the other 2 rounds, I would say. Other than
Elkins was relentless with the takedowns, getting on top, landing a couple of strikes, continuing to win all the scrambles. Dom Cruz with the alpha male compliment, didn't really expect that.
Yeah,
that was like, all right, Dom has turned a page.
There is hope.
He is now on
for Keith Peterson.
Well, he's his new target. At some point, that page may turn.
One day, fences will be mended.
I think Elkins did land on the feet as well, but it was mostly his grappling, and when Brown would try to engage, try to attack a sub, it just never worked out for him. He lost. He always ended up on bottom, in worse position, in side control, always getting reversed. I think he did get effectively out grappled, and that's why I scored it for Elkins 10-9.
I went the other way. I scored this for Brown. I just thought that the damage was done a little bit better from his end.
Okay,
but you know, we're talking about So when I say not much scoreable offense, I still stand by that. I still don't think there's a crazy amount of scoreable offense here, but there is more than especially the first round. So I think a closed round here. I think if you had more, I think if Elkins was able to have done more with his grappling advantages, like it would have been a no-brainer. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. You know, he could have made this a simpler fight to score, a simpler round to score, and he just didn't quite get there. But yeah, so I went with Brown. You obviously went the other way. You were in the majority though. You saw it with judges Ron McCarthy and Brian Miner. I saw it with Chris.
All right.
So this time I'm with Judge Lamb.
Okay.
Agree to disagree?
Sure.
All right. Moving on to Christian Rodriguez. This was the curtain jerker for the main card. Got the win over Cameron Simon. Unanimous nod, 30-27 twice, and a 29-28. So we're talking about round 1 in a fight that was basically Rodriguez otherwise. So what's happening here?
It's another very close round. Both guys want to slug it out. Lots of spinning stuff and good kicks coming from Simon's end.
Everybody loves spinning-ish.
He's got Rodriguez bleeding a bit. Rodriguez was able to get a good slam takedown off of one of those spinning attacks. He landed some hard punches. He had a pretty good Darce in there briefly. I mean, Simon was able to get out pretty quickly. I do think it's a very close round, but I lean Rodriguez 10-9.
Yeah, Simon, I feel like he just kind of he had like a good, I don't want to say a spurt or burst, but there was like a good period of the middle part of the round where he actually had some good success, but otherwise it did feel to me more like a Rodriguez round. But not not to a degree that's so dominant, you know, that you
Mhm.
couldn't go the other way. I think this is perfectly fine as a split round.
Yeah.
Although it was the first round, you know, didn't ultimately matter
Mhm.
anyway. So, yeah, I think this is not a crazy one. No, not that I wasn't following closely the social media conversation. I know you were in Buffalo, where it's like a third world nation without internet service.
Service, my God.
Yeah, yeah. I was texting you once in a while, and like usually Dan's one of those guys who's actually pretty good at answering your messages when he sends them, and I wasn't hearing much from him. I was getting a lot of radio static from this guy. And I'm
It's
like,
horrible.
where is he?
Very horrible.
What nation are you in? Are you in Antarctica?
We were almost in Canada.
Yeah, I know.
Basically.
I know geography.
Oh, and then all these fans are like, you're not from New York, you play in New Jersey. And we're like, well, you're not in Buffalo, you play in Orchard Park. What's different?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, you're almost in Canada.
Well, so is Buffalo. Anyway, you know, we saw it with the majority here for Rodriguez, with Judges Cleary and Tony Weeks. Judge D'Amato was the lone judge seen for Simon. Again, not crazy. And I don't know if people were complaining about it. If they were, they forgot about it. So, Moving on to our final round of contested rounds, and this is Melissa Dixon getting the win over Irina Alexeva, who is, I believe she's known as the Russian Ronda or something like that.
Yeah, and she didn't want to be called that or something, right? She was disrespectful.
Either she doesn't want to be called that, or Melissa Dixon didn't. I missed who said that it shouldn't be said, but
someone was the Russian Ronda.
Yeah. Well, she was the Russian Ronda, Alexeva.
Oh.
But I don't know who said it was a disrespectful thing to be called. I don't know.
I think Alexeva didn't want to be called it.
Oh, okay. I thought
I
thought maybe it was that Dixon didn't think that name should be. That's what I'm saying. I missed it. I don't know.
I don't know.
We've already wrung our hands on this too many times. No one cares.
Although I thought this was the most interesting round.
Sure. Okay.
So.
I mean, there's that. But yeah, I mean, either way, Dixon got the win. It was 29-28 twice for her and a 30-27. So that does mean we've got a majority for Alexeva here. But let's talk about this round before you and I say where we end.
Yeah, I thought they were trading some big shots in the beginning, and I thought Dixon was landing the heavier shots. But she is not wearing damage well at all. Her face is all swollen and red very, very quickly. And then she does get blasted with a big right hand that sends her to the canvas. Alexeva couldn't really do much, as Dixon was back up quickly and ended up on the back in the final 30 seconds of the round. I think she landed some solid punches there, some elbows to really steal that round back from a knockdown, where Alexeva did jump ahead. And then
it was a good knockdown too. You know,
Yeah.
the flash knockdowns where they're like they get right and they're fine.
Yeah.
Like this one, Dixon was not okay.
She got smacked.
Yeah,
pretty good.
she did.
It was like she was ahead, and then she got smacked, and now she's like quite behind.
Totally lost it. Yeah.
And then they got into a grappling sequence, and you know she's still behind, and then she's able to get the back, and then she started landing some good shots, and she pulled ahead at the end. That's how I saw it. 10-9 Dixon.
Yeah, I also did too. But I can understand why. Like, where is the point where we cross over into, okay, it's not her round anymore? Like, what is the point where we've crossed back over the plane, you know? So, again, it's hard to really go crazy on a round like this. There's a lot of ebb and flow, and you know, I saw for Dixon just like you. Just like Chris Lee. Again, he was the outjudge here. Outjudged 3 out of 6 times, but I'm now siding with him 2 out of 3 times, although the third I said no. Not the greatest. We should probably add that round to review for later too.
Okay.
I don't think it's as bad as some of the other ones that
No.
we're going to be talking about later this year, but throw it in the mix. But yeah, so I think round 1, I feel like this is a Dixon round, but it could certainly go the other way because again, where is that point? Judges Cleary and Anthony Manus certainly saw it for Alexeva, and that's fine. But you and I seeing it for Dixon with Judge Lee. What does that mean for Chris Lee?
Couch side over.
Got a little extra oomph in that one. That's for Judge Lee. And that's it, man. That's our contested rounds for this time. 4 finishes on this card. Like I said, there's a lot of decisions. 3 TKOs, no regular KOs, 1 submission. The one we talked about with Elkins and on Brown. 2 of the fights ended in the first round. What was your favorite of the 4 finishes?
Darren Elkins rear naked choke.
Sure.
Over TJ Brown. That was.
You would go with the sub.
He was just so much better on the ground, and I loved it.
He was, but you finally, and this was the round where you really started seeing him like take advantage of the positions he was getting, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, even in the scramble, some of the maneuvers he was doing, it's like, oh, is that why we do that in warm-ups? Because it actually applies. to situations.
Imagine that.
Yeah, look at that.
Fancy that.
So and he didn't really bleed much, right?
No,
He
he
wasn't
didn't.
bleeding.
Not too much. He was not a bloody mess.
No.
It's unfortunate. You like to see him, be mangled.
He should blade before the
unrecognizable.
event. Like his
blade.
Like WWF
Like New Jack
in the 80s.
Must be
or
New
90s.
Jack here. Just cut heads open and stuff. Jeez. No, thank you. Yeah, no, that was obviously that was a good finish.
And yours?
I sided with for my favorite finish, Jonathan Martinez chopping down Adrian Yanez with the leg kicks, round 2.
Yeah, I'm not shocked there. That's a good finish.
Those were some gnarly neck kicks, and by then, like, it didn't even look like the last one was like awful compared to others, but I think it was just like, all right, I've had my leg has had enough. I can't fake this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying, but that's not an indictment of Yanez's toughness there. I think that's just Jonathan Martinez and those guys. Man, Mark Montoya's guys, they just chop your legs like crazy. I mean, Chris Gutierrez, another guy who was really stuck low on the prelims, and even he said, like, I don't want to be on the prelims next time, after his fight. So, man.
Well, you know what? I do have a thought on this.
What's your thought? I like what you think.
On fight night cards, who cares? I don't even care. There's no main card. There's no prelim.
It depends who's watching, though. I mean, what time slot are they promoting to people?
I don't know.
Are we maximizing the audience? I think that's where it really
not
matters
this time
about
of
card
year.
Placement.
Not this time of year
With college football.
College football has all the ESPN main network channels. You can only watch UFC on the app.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know what the numbers are. They don't really release that type of thing anymore unless they're very happy with it and then they put it out. But I don't know. There's a status involved with it, though.
On a pay-per-view, I 100% get it. And I understand where the UFC is like, okay, our prelims are actually on ESPN.
Sure.
So we're going to lead into it. So we want a good fight to lead in, make people buy the card. But I also get fighters wanting to be on the actual pay-per-view portion.
There's still an element of people associate, well, this fight's more important because it's placed higher, So if it's lower on the card, let's say people who don't think as much about it will just assume it's not as important.
Well, yeah.
So that's part of it, and the fighters feel that too. I
think
let the fighters feel respected.
I think the company, that's exactly what they do.
Right?
They don't. This means nothing to us. Who cares? We'd rather this fight.
But the fighters care. That's what I'm saying. Also, why are we putting? Not that we did it this time. There were no heavyweight fights, but why are we putting those heavyweight fights as the co-main or the one before the co-main all the time that nobody ever wanted to watch?
Because the casuals,
is it a built-in bathroom break? Is that what it is?
No. Well, yeah. I mean, I wish I would just take a bathroom break for every heavyweight fight where there wasn't 2 top 10 guys.
Give them 5 minutes and then go. I think that's that's where you do it. You got to give them the 5 minutes of your time and say, listen, you get this done, I'm gonna watch you and I'm gonna celebrate you. If you make it to that bell after round 1, I'm going to the bathroom. And I don't care if I miss anything.
It's sad because anytime a heavyweight gets a knockout in the first 5 minutes, I have a sense of relief instead of excitement.
Yeah,
and it's sad. It's gotten to that.
I feel like that we should go back and look at like the heavyweight fights that they've had this year and say, all right, which of the fight put aside the ones that ended in the first 5 minutes. Those are the ones that did their job. Mm-hmm. After that point, which of those fights had not just a finish, but like a finish that was worth watching, like one where you're like, oh, that was good.
Yeah, we should. Okay.
I'm gonna go back and look at that because there's probably only like 20 heavyweight fights like that anyway. It's not gonna take long.
Mm.
So, and most of them are probably terrible decisions. I don't mean a terrible decision in the sense it was poorly judged, but in the sense that it was a terrible fight that went 15 minutes. Anyway, that is it for UFC Vegas 81. Let's look ahead to something a little bigger. UFC 294 numbered event, Abu Dhabi. This being Abu Dhabi, it is going to start their local time of prime time or late time, I guess. So it's 2 p.m. Eastern time, main card start.
Yeah.
Do you like these 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
I do. Not this time of year. I think the UFC should pick a different.
You obviously want a break for college football.
They should pick a different day for the final 3 months of the year.
Well, it is what it is. You get what you get, sir.
It is what you get. But I do think the numbers may not be that great for this pay-per-view. You have Penn State versus Ohio State at 12. And the main card starting at 2. I don't know if people are going to actually buy the card.
I still feel like there's a lot of not crossover between fight fans and college football fans. I really don't. I think that a lot of them are very different.
The big numbers come from the outsiders buying a card.
Sure.
So
not wrong. But also not everybody who's an outsider is just going to be college football fan. There's a lot of people who are just like, I don't even watch other sports, but like if it's a good fight, I will watch this good fight. I think they'll probably do fine. Also, ESPN pays them a hefty sum just to have a card, so it doesn't really matter. So they went out either way. But this is a good fight. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski, number 2, which came together, of course, just a few weeks ago very quickly when Charles Oliveira, which was going to have his rematch against Makhachev, big old cut on his brow, sliced open. Probably, I forget if they said why, but my guess was it was like probably a headbutt or something.
Something in sparring, yeah.
Something that wasn't supposed to happen, that they weren't just going hard. Probably just someone put their head in the wrong spot. That was always my guess. But
which I kind of still don't understand.
What?
Why a cut shuts off a fight?
I think they can't get cleared if they're.
But that's my thing. Is like why? Because cuts
reasons, man.
Cuts happen in the fight, and the fight just doesn't automatically stop. I mean,
yeah,
I get
think they don't want them to like. They ideally don't want them to keep going when they have terrible cuts either. You know, and this actually was a bad spot.
It's a bad spot.
How quick is gonna heal up? I don't know.
I mean, Dana was saying, listen, we could have got a plastic surgeon there, and they could have saved the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't because no one wants to say anything right away.
Well, also, what was the point? Because they just said, well, let's just do this fight.
Yeah, after the fact.
Yeah.
That everything happened. I mean, this is probably what it should have been the fight regardless. Maybe.
No, I was okay with. I was okay with them doing what they did, but obviously, all's well that ends well. I think this is still going to be an interesting fight. Rematch, of course. From
it's going to be no. Volk is going to win this one.
You really? Okay. You think he's going to be the double champ now?
Yeah, Volk double champ.
By what?
The only reason
Plata?
I don't know why, but Volk gets better in rematches, a lot better.
I don't know. I would say because the first fight with him and Max was a very good, almost one-sided fight for him, and then the second fight was much closer, as we know.
What was the third fight?
Third fight was very, very lopsided in his favor, but that's 3, not 2.
Volk is going to win this.
All right. I'm not making any pick, but I actually am talking to Alexander Volkanovski today, so we'll see. We'll see if he has any interesting insights. This being over in Abu Dhabi and UFC essentially acting as the commission, they will be bringing in top judges from Europe and United States, I would imagine. So it'll be one of those good collective judges summits in a sense. I think we get some good judging here.
All right.
Other fights on the card, of course, they did save Hamzat Chimaev was supposed to fight Paulo Costa. Costa comes out because he has like several surgeries or something like that. And it's like, oh, I had surgery, I'll still fight. And then he has another surgery the day he was saying he was still going to fight. It's like, what are you talking about?
And he had a third one today, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Something
tomorrow.
Like that. Yeah, something coming up this week anyway. Very strange. Who knows? Maybe everything's made up. I don't know. But anyway, Kamaru Usman steps in. So we have essentially a blown up welterweight fight at middleweight, which is probably the best way to do middleweight. Just let the welterweights come up.
Mm.
You know, they'll probably make the middleweight division better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely an interesting fight. It's not the fight we expected, but I'm curious to see how it goes. There's the implications we talked about before. The winner is supposed to get the next title shot. I imagine I don't see a reason why they wouldn't stick to that. Sometimes they say that and you're like, yeah, okay, buddy, we'll see. But this feels like they're going to do that, especially if Usman, it's a very established name.
Yeah.
Other fights on the card. Honestly, I don't love the depth of this card. I think the pay-per-view is perfectly fine. The prelims, I don't have fights that I'm jumping all over. I'm sure a lot of them will be fun anyway, but fights that stood out. This is on the main card. Magomed Ankalaev, who fights in Abu Dhabi whenever they can. Like he's one of the guys they like to request there, against Johnny Walker. It's kind of a weird fight for Ankalaev coming off of the draw in the title fight, where a lot of people thought maybe he was a more likely guy to win that fight if he were to score just rounds and not 10-8.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I guess he's got a fight. It's been a while.
Or maybe
since
it was
that
the 10-8.
fight,
Excuse me. I messed up that. But yeah, obviously he was mad about judging and after that. So I don't know what to do. We'll see. Over on the prelims, I do like Tim Elliott against Muhammad Mokaev. That's a good step for Mokaev, I think. I like this fight at 125. And then I like Nathaniel Wood. I don't know as much, to be perfectly honest, about Muhammad Naimov. But Wood has been very interesting since he came up to 145. So I like that fight too.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
Did anything else jump out at you? Or
yeah, I liked Ikram Aliskerov and Warley Alves.
Okay. I
think that should be pretty fun. And we got Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry. I think that would be pretty good one too. Okay. But Abu Azaitar, is he the one that got cut and then he got re-signed for stealing a bag and it was all a big misunderstanding or something? Last time they were in Abu Dhabi.
That sounds right.
I think that was, yeah.
And there was a whole "what's in the bag" thing.
Yeah,
and he still doesn't want to answer it.
Right.
It's very weird.
Was that? It was him.
I believe so.
Okay.
I think that's.
Well, he's on the fight.
Yeah.
I think Dudakova's pretty interesting. At strawweight, she's fighting Jin Yu Fry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's fights here. It's like, as far as pay-per-view goes, like, this isn't the most stacked of cards. Like, they're saving that for New York. New York's actually a pretty good card.
Well, for $1,000 to get in the door, it better be a pretty good card. So.
Yeah, it's a pricey one. That's true. We'll be talking about that in a few weeks. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited for this card. I think the top 2 fights alone really sell this.
Yeah, oh for sure.
You can sometimes that's all you need.
They're better fights.
Was that?
They're better fights.
Oh, than they were.
They're
saying
they're
both upgrades.
They're upgrades, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I think
we'll see.
Yeah.
See, you can sort of hear my voice kind of like
he's
dipping
cracking
out a bit, right?
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I'm not back.
It means
98.
Show's over because Scott's voice is about to give out.
Yeah, I think we probably should just wrap it.
Okay, we'll be back again on Monday this time, for real.
For real? You're not going anywhere?
Not going anywhere
All right,
this week. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody. Have a good week.